I'm George Hatchman. The actual Willowbank area, as you see around here, I'm the chairman of the actual residents group. And while I say that, Willowbank is intrinsic in the history of Amberley. We're actually located at the moment some 4 kilometres to the southwest of the Air Force Base on a ridge which is about 86 metres above sea level, and the Air Force Base being 25 metres above sea level. And it gives us a nice viewpoint of the locality, where we are in Ipswich and the location of the Air Force Base, etc. Obviously, because of aircraft movements during the day, we get a nice grandstand view of some of the aircraft operations, so you're getting treated to a sort of free air show. Amberley also had another significance, as it was located west of Ipswich for the fact that it was a level area for aircraft to operate without impact on mountains, and it was close to an industrial city. Ipswich was an industrial city of those years, had the railway workshops plus the woolen mills and the coal mine operations, so there was a base for support engineering. In 1939, an aircraft landed at Amberley, and it was the first aircraft to land, and it was called a Hornet Moth. I guess looking at that and thinking of today in 2010 in March, when Amberley received the Super Hornets, those 70 years, interim years of Amberley's activities as a military aviation base have seen a Hornet Moth morph into a Super Hornet. So I think there's a sort of a synergy there we need to recognise between the two generations of aircraft and all that went between. And I kind of always relate back to the support of our Mayor, Mr. Paul Pasali. When anybody looks at the skies of the aircraft flying overhead and the noise factor, and acknowledge that what he sees is the sound of freedom.
My name's Stan Walker, and I came here in 1954. I was a coppersmith for a start, as a tradesman here, and later on, as time went on, after about 20 years, I became a safety officer, and I retired 43 years after I started here.
My name is Ken Baker, and I live in Ipswich, and I've lived there for quite a long time. After working in the car industry for quite a number of years, I joined the railway in 1994. I went to Redbank, where I was just a labourer, and we got commended for the job that we did. And it was pretty full on, but if you're going to do something, you've got to put your heart into it. I do miss a lot of workmates. It was good crew to work with at Redbank. We were like a big family. You helped each other, and Redbank was a good spot to work. That was my good days in the railway, and I probably never regret it.
Most guys came here for a profession, right? Today they only come here for money. And I know this was their life, and their life revolved around this workshop. Their home and that life out there, most of the time never exists, because work it out. Where were most of the hours spent? Here, 8 hours a day. Night time you went home and sleep. And so around with all your mates and your buddies and your pals, they became your family. So it was an experience that, as I said, we came here for a profession. The money was good, but that was not what we were here for.
17 miners were killed in the infamous Box Flat mining disaster of 1972. The area of Ipswich and Brisbane was severely flooded through the great floods of 1974.
it wasn't until I actually got onto the south side and got up to have a look at it that I realised how really bad it was.
It's the sort of thing you don't think is going to happen.
That was a time that those of us who were there will never forget.
Even today, in little nooks and crevices around the place, you'll still find mud that we couldn't get at in those days.
And then about 6:37, it started coming back up again, and it just never stopped.
I worked for 78 hours, and I was forced to stop because I collapsed on the spot and woke up in the General Hospital.
In 1985, Ipswich was once again struck by disaster, with the Reed's department store, formerly Crib and Foot, being completely destroyed by fire.
Firemen manning 7 Ipswich appliances tackled the blaze as it consumed the huge double-storey building. The fire fed on the heavy timber walls and beams and threatened to spread throughout the entire city block. But although firemen saved adjacent buildings from all but minor damage, they were powerless to protect the millions of dollars in stock within the store. At one stage, firefighters turned their attention to damping down buildings opposite the blaze as they succumbed to the intense heat. Many sections of the Reed's building toppled into the street, dumping huge chunks of masonry near firemen and often damaging their hoses. Dawn revealed the extent of the destruction. No part of the complex had escaped irreparable damage. 136 years of Ipswich history had disappeared in a few hours, and police scientific officers made the final examination before council bulldozers levelled the site. Police later confirmed the fire had been deliberately lit. Elsewhere, local traders repaired damage and officials examined the post office clock face, smashed by the heat.